to our channel. Today we are going to start the interesting topic, the vector analysis of ECG. So before that, from the continuation of our second part, atrial fibrillation, these are missing. So let us continue this. So first let us see what is atrial fibrillation. So as a name you can see, atrial fibrillation only occurs in atria because it's atrial fibrillation, but not, it doesn't take place in the ventricle. And what is the frequent main cause of this atrial fibrillation is the atrial enlargement from the heart valve lesion. You can understand whenever the valve has some lesions, it also may radiate into the atria, so this atria also gets enlarged, and that prevent the emptying atria from the adequately into the ventricles. So you can understand when the lesions are like, they are like acting as a barrier, and they are not allowing the fluid, or not fluid here in the case atria, right, the impulses from the atria to the ventricle. So with the excessive damming of blood in the atria, that is, more blood is getting accumulated in atria because now it is not able to move to the ventricle. Not only not signals, mainly it is about the blood. The blood now can't move from the atria to the ventricle because of the barrier like lesions which are present in the valves. So this leads to dilated atrial walls because the blood is accumulating more in the atria. You can understand now the wall, already atria wall is somewhat thin when compared with the ventricle, we know that. So now it becomes more thinner because it is getting dilated because of more blood which is getting accumulated there, and this provide the ideal condition of long conductive pathway as well as slow conduction, both of which predispose to atrial fibrillation. So now you can understand the blood is blocked there, and because of this the impulses are also confused, like sometimes they're getting faster because of more blood, and sometimes they're getting slow because already there is lot of blood. So that, like this, even the impulses are getting confused, and this lead to mainly atrial fibrillation. So fibrillation is always a confused pattern. How we can confirm it? We can confirm it by this diagram. You can see here always flutter is like, even though it's an abnormal condition, but it is following some normal circular pathway. But in a fibrillation you can see it always confused because of more blood accumulating in the atria. So this is the atrial fibrillation, clear picture you can see in our guidance textbook. So next, coming to the ECG, yeah, one more point is there, that is atria won't pump blood in atrial fibrillation because you can understand because of this lesion, and even the ventricle pumping is also decreased to 20-30%. You can understand, according to Frank Starling law, if the preload is low, then the stroke volume also will be, or cardiac output also will be of course low, because the preload, first the preload should come and fill it. If there is no filling itself, then even the ventricular pumping also decrease. And here you see, and also the, so you can see here the person can live for years, but with atrial fibrillation person have life for longer time when compared with ventricle, because you know ventricle is the main pumping unit which controls the cardiac output. Because here in atrial fibrillation person can live for long time, because even though some blood doesn't enter the ventricle, the remaining blood in the ventricle manages the stroke volume or also cardiac output with atrial fibrillation, but at reduced efficiency. That's what, because only some blood is there in the ventricle as in diastolic volume of overall heart pumping. So you can understand the pumping is also affected by the atrial fibrillation. So how the ECG looks in a atrial fibrillation, numerous small depolarization waves are spread in all directions by atria. So here you can see in the diagram the atrial fibrillation, numerous, you can see the waves that can be seen are ventricular QRS T waves. You can see like numerous, it's like abnormal pattern. Here you can see they are like coming too much nearer, here you can see again somewhat far. So it's like abnormal pattern in a ECG. So because the waves are weak and may are of opposite polarity, they usually completely electrically neutralize one another. So because of neutralization, one wave get disturbed, and again this influence in turn another wave. So like this the waves get disturbed, and there is no P waves from the atria, or only a fine, that is small P wave may be there, and the increase in frequency, very low voltage wavy record is seen. Conversely, QRS T complexes are normal unless there is a pathology of ventricles. Even if ventricles are involved, then only even the QRS also will get affected. You know, this is atria, we are talking about atrial fibrillation, so of course our P wave only will get affected more. But there is also trimming in timing, and also timing is irregular as explained. Yeah, we'll see next what is it. Also timing is irregular, you can see by this saying normally only you can guess that the timing is also looking irregular. And now let us move on to why there is irregularity in ventricular rhythm during atrial fibrillation. So at least 0.35 seconds must elapse between one ventricular contraction and the next. That is the normal rule. That 100 abnormal impulse reaching the AV node. So next additional 0.06 second variable interval occurs between one of the irregular arterial flutter to arrive at fibrillation to arrive at the AV node. So ventricular contractions vary between 0.35 to 0.95 second, causing irregular heartbeat. So you can see here in an abnormal case we have 0.35 to 0.95 seconds of difference, irregular difference in an heartbeat, and ventricular rate is also increased to 125 to 150 beats per minute, because you can understand as the blood is not coming from the atria, now ventricle feels it hard to pump, so that it gets hypertrophied, and also its heart rate get increased to 125 to 150 beats per minute. Now let us see what is electroshock treatment of atrial fibrillation. So mainly we give two types of treatment. We'll see the electroshock treatment of atrial fibrillation. We can also give CPR, but let us see what is electroshock treatment. Passage of single strong electroshock through entire heart into refractiveness for a few seconds. Yeah, we need to bring the heart into refractiveness. You can understand when heart comes to refractiveness, it doesn't allow the unnecessary or more impulses, so that it forms a clockwise perfect pattern. So the normal rhythm of 10 follows if heart is capable of generating normal rhythm. And now let us see what is atrial flutter, so that we can differentiate fibrillation from flutter. So flutter is mainly caused by circus movement in the atria. We know the circus movement, which causes the rapid rate of contraction of atria between 200 and 350 beats. So the atria is beating with a rapid rate because one side of atria contracting and other side is relaxing. So it is not having some proper coordination. One side is contracting, other side is relaxing because of the circus movements. There is no refractiveness, so this process is going on. So the amount of blood pumped by the atria is also decreased, and the signal reaches the AV node more rapidly because the refractive period of AV node is also too long to pass more than a fraction of atrial signal. So therefore 2 to 3 beats of atria you can see for every single beat of ventricle, you can see 2 to 3 beats of atria. Normally one atrial beat, one ventricular beat. This is a normal cycle, but here you can see 2 to 3 beats of atria for one ventricle beat. So in ECG also the P waves are stronger because you can flutter, yeah, because of contraction of semi-coordinate mass of muscle, and QRST complex follows atrial P wave only once for every 2 to 3 beats of atria, giving 2:1 or 3:1 rhythm. Now let us see what is cardiac arrest. So the final serious abnormality among all these situations, the serious and final stage is cardiac arrest, abnormality of cardiac rhythmicity, that is conduction system is only failed. So this mainly results from cessation of all electrical control signals in heart, and there are also no spontaneous rhythm remaining. So causes are like by deep anesthesia. Whenever you give deep anesthesia, you may get a cardiac arrest, and also severe hypoxia if for a long time, if there is no oxygen, you can understand respiration will decrease for sure, and also autonomic excitability of our SA node, all those decreases. So you can understand if there is no excitable, there is no signals, then no contraction also. So CPR can also be done even after hours is successful, and severe myocardial disease can cause permanent or semi-permanent cardiac arrest and can cause even death. Yeah. So treatments are like rhythmical electrical impulses from implanted electronic cardiac pacemaker, which is successfully keeping the patients alive for months and years, but only for years because we are implanting an normal regulating impulses, because now as impulses are getting abnormal, so we are now regulating them. So this is the ECG pattern of atrial flutter. You can see the P waves are completely abnormal because rapid movement of P waves. You can see P wave is only not found here completely. So this is how atrial flutter ECG looks like. So now we are going to start our important and also very interesting topic, our vector analysis of ECG. So you can see here the vector, the black color, this is the vector. This is an arrow that points in the direction of electrical potential that is generated by the current flow, this current flow. With arrowhead is positive in direction. So arrowhead is positive, you can see here positive direction. And by convention, the length of the arrow is drawn proportion to voltage of potential, that is nothing but the resultant vector in the heart at any given instant. So this is the resultant vector, it just determines the potential. So if the arrow is longer, then we can say it is having more potential, and if the arrow is like this, somewhat smaller, then we can say small potential. So based on the length of the arrow, we can determine the potential, how much power it has, how much voltage it has. So you can see here Although current flows in ventricle at different direction, yeah, here you can see current is flowing in different directions. Some is moving like this in clockwise, some is going upward. So it is having, normally the normal pattern of ventricular depolarization is first from base to apex. Normally if you take a triangle, this will be the base and this will be the apex, but you can see our heart is like an inverted triangle. So in the case of inverted triangle, this is the apex and that will be the base. So always the current travels from the base to the apex, that too from the negative side to the positive side. So that is the basic rule about depolarization. So you can see the current is flowing in the ventricle at different directions, but the major part of current is flowing only downward, that is also from the base to the apex. So the summated vector is called instantaneous mean vector, and this potential is large and the vector is long. So this is all describing about this long vector, and the vector is straight towards the left. And here you can see now, if the vector is straight, that is horizontal and towards the left, so you can see this is the left side, this is the right side, and this is bottom, this is top. So if you see, if our vector is, you can see this arrowhead, if it is horizontal and towards the left side, then we can say it is at 0 degree. You can see here clearly. So if the vector is straight and towards the left, then we say the vector is 0 degree. It is also called as reference point. From this point, the scale vectors rotate clockwise. So this is the 0 reference point. From this only we'll start the uh, calculation or measuring the vectors, that too in clockwise direction. So you can see this is a clockwise direction and anti-clockwise will be like this. So if vector is straight and downward, that is, then it will be 90 degrees. So here in this diagram we can see, if the vector is straight and downward, you can see it is straight and downward, then it is positive 90 degrees. So that is about this vector. And if it is extended from left to right, then it is positive 180 degrees. So you can see this is left side to right side, horizontal line, this is 0 means this is 180 degrees, this side right side. So if the vector is like towards this side, then it is right side positive 180 degrees. And when the straight upward, then the vector is minus 90, or also called positive 270 degrees. So here in this diagram you can see, if it is upward, topward, and that too with upward, because here upward is minus 90 and downward is plus 90, so it is also called minus 90 or also plus 270 degrees. So this is about vectors basics. And next, in normal heart, the average direction of vector in spread of depolarization is mean QRS vector. The mean QRS vector is this. Normally you can see this arrow. If we want to find out the degrees for this arrow, this vector, if you put this in this diagram, then you can see the degree is 59 degrees, that to positive 59 degrees. So this is a positive 59 degrees common in all our ventricles, that is currents are positive, moving from negative to positive directions, that too in from the base to the apex. So that is our major normal vectors. So now let us go somewhat into detail and understand. So now let us see what is hexagonal reference system. Hexagonal reference system, mainly in bipolar and unipolar LEDs, we already studied in our ECG. So here the limblets also follow direction from negative to positive. This is called axis of lead. We know in Enthoven's triangle, once let us draw the Enthoven's triangle. We know lead 1, negative to positive, this is lead 1, and negative to positive again lead 2, again here negative to positive lead 3. So we know in an Enthoven triangle also, always our leads are moving from negative direction to positive direction. Even in lead 1 or lead 2, you can see here lead 2 also negative to positive, lead 3 also again negative to positive. Also always even in bipolar leads, augmented unipolar leads, any leads, or even in chest leads, only this pattern should follow, that is always current or electrode should travel from negative to positive. That is the basic rule. So now here we can see the direction from negative is axis. This is called as axis of lead, that is moving from negative to positive is called axis of lead. And now let us see the bipolar leads, and next let us see unipolar leads. Let us find out their degrees by means of this hexagonal reference system. So lead 1, it is moving from positive. Lead 1 is placed on right arm and left arm, and the electrodes are in horizontal direction. So lead 1 is 0 degrees. You can understand, if it is in horizontal direction like this, then it is 0 degrees, that is towards the left side. And lead 2 is having electrodes on right arm and left leg. In lead 2, here in triangle you can see from right arm to left leg. So from right arm to left leg, the direction is positive 60 degrees. If we see in our if we put this in our hexagonal reference system, we'll get positive 60 degrees. So this is a lead 2 and lead 1 is 0 degrees. So now let us see what about lead 3 in our bipolar limb leads. So lead 3 is equal to positive 120 degrees, that is from left arm to left leg. So here you can see from left arm to left leg it is positive 120 degrees. So you can see here 120. So just we are applying this to find out the degrees of our leads. And now let us see about augmented or unipolar leads. So here you can see in augmented right lead we have 210 degrees, augmented left lead we have, sorry, left lead is here, we have minus 30 degrees, and augmented foot, left foot we have plus 90 degrees. So these are about the values of augmented unipolar leads. So this system where we are measuring the bipolar limb leads and unipolar limb leads degrees, this is called as this degree measurement is called as hexagonal system. So and why it is called as reference system, because it is having all the degree values you can see here, like 0, 100, 120. So by this degree values we can get this. So this is known as hexagonal reference system. So first part to get depolarized in a ventricle. So now let us continue our topic. So this is just the basic about the leads to need to remember. And now let us see about first part to get depolarized in a ventricle is left endocardial suffix of septum, because from base to apex, in the base we have the septum, two septum, and next it moved to the apex endocardium. So the positive vector cause ECG recording above zero line. So by this vectors only we also can get the ECG recordings. For example, you can see if you're having positive vector, then this is a line, above this means positive, below this means negative. So this indicates positive, this indicates negative. So positive vector cause ECG recording above the zero line and the negative vector cause recording below the zero line. So after 0.15 second later, the repolarization start and end until the 0.35 seconds. So mainly the repolarization we know already in our ECG lecture, it causes T wave, and as septum endocardium depolarize first, you may think that even they repolarize first, but it is wrong. As septum and endocardium depolarize first, uh, the outer regions of the ventricle repolarize first. So repolarize first because first the apex repolarize, next the base repolarize last. And this repolarization vector is always towards apex, and this is also positive. So in the same diagram, once again let us see, we are saying that depolarization is from negative to positive, that is from base to the apex, but repolarization is in opposite direction, that is from the apex to the base. So this is like you may think now the arrow also becomes negative, but it is positive because most of the greater major vector is towards the positive. So even the repolarization vector is also positive. So that is the important point we need to remember in the case of repolarization. So T wave is positive in all bipolar limb leads, that is either limb lead 1, 2, 3. In all limb leads, a T wave is positive because the major wave is positive, which is also polarity of most of the normal QRS complex. So in most of the QRS complex also we can see the positive waves. And next coming to depolarization of atria. P wave begin in a SA node, we know this. So spread to the atria also enters the superior vena cava, because superior vena cava is also near to it. So as vector is in the direction, that is vector is in the positive direction, in all bipolar limb leads like 1, 2, 3, ECG is positive. So even in the case of depolarization of atria, all the waves, all the P waves are in lead 1, lead 2, 3 are positive. And next coming to in QRS complex. So here in this diagram we can see the ventricular depolarization. So if this, you can see this arrow is mostly towards lead 2 and also positive. So you can see depolarization wave is first here, and next it is having some more power, and now it is mostly moving towards the left side. And after completing depolarization over here, it also need to depolarize the remaining part, the last part here. So now the current has moved here, and finally the whole ventricular muscle is depolarized here, so there is no wave shown here. So you can see how the waves are formed here. So this is if the arrow is indicating here only up to half, it means some of the third lead is positive and some of them also may be negative. If it is showing more arrow in red color, means it is saying mostly the lead 2 is towards the positive direction. So that's all about this diagram. And in atria, as we discussed, the most of the wave is positive. So in all three leads also in ECG, the atrial ECG wave is positive, especially our P wave. You can see P wave is like this, it's positive in our ECG. And you can see about QRS and T vector cardiogram. In T wave, we should discuss this topic. Later we'll see this diagram. So we are in QRS. QRS is also from the base to the apex normal, and it is minus 59 degrees. Base to apex normal, not minus 59, plus 59 degrees. In pathology, like any abnormalities, then it may also have the vector which move in opposite direction. So normally, it should move like this, but if it is any pathology, it moves like this. Vector is showing upward, then it is a pathology. And next, after determining the standard leads, uh, the positive potential and polarity of recordings are mainly seen in a lead 1 and lead 2, and lead 1 is positive, lead 3 is somewhat positive and somewhat negative. So here in this diagram, if you see, the lead 2 is completely positive, lead 1 is completely positive because it's towards this, but you can see the lead 3 is only completing the half portion, means some of the half is also negative. So lead 3 is half positive and half negative. So to determine the vector of total QRS, ventricular mean electrical potential, we need to draw the perpendicular line, dashed lines from the lead 1 and lead 3 to represent the negative end of mean vector, that is positive 59 degrees. So you can see by drawing a perpendicular line between the lead 1 and lead 3, we have got this perpendicular line showing again nothing but r plus 59 degrees. That is our mean vector wave of QRS complex. And now let us see ventricular hypertrophy and axis of deviation. So whenever the ventricle gets hypertrophy, when it gets hypertrophied, the muscle wall gets huge. So if one ventricle hypertrophy axis also shifts towards the diseased ventricle, that is the hypertrophic ventricle, even the waves of this ECG also move towards the ventricular which is hypertrophy. There are two reasons why the waves are moving towards the unhealthy part when compared with the healthy part, that is increase in muscle in hypertrophy side. As you know, there is more muscle, even the currents tend to move towards that side, that is increase in electrical potential on that side, and also increase in time to go to hypertrophy than normal. Yeah, of course, to go to the normal it is less, but to go through this hypertrophy the currents also should take more time because they need to cross that fat hypertrophied muscle now. And the left axis deviation from the hypertrophy of left ventricle shows the minus 15 degrees deviation in the left direction. In the left direction means, yeah, and it is also caused by hypertension or due to aortic valvular stenosis, that is hypertrophy which is causing because of aortic valvular stenosis or aortic valve regurgitation or congenital heart condition. So because of this all condition, if the ventricular hypertrophy is going on, then remember that always the axis deviation is towards the hypertrophy ventricle but not towards the normal ventricle. So in which and also in congenital heart conditions, so in which the left ventricle size is increased while the right ventricle is normal because it is not hypertrophied. And now let us see what happens when right ventricle hypertrophy. The ECG pattern is moving towards the hypertrophy pattern. So even here, if the right ventricle get hypertrophied, then even the vector now moves towards the right side of the ventricle because it got hypertrophied. So right axis deviation is 170 degrees, that is triple 1 degrees to the right of the normal 59 degrees mean QRS vector. So due to congenital, the causes of this right ventricular hypertrophy may be like congenital pulmonary valve stenosis, teratology of fallout, or interventricular septal defects, all this. Now let us see what is coronary ischemia. Always ischemia means, remember, low blood supply. Low blood supply means also low oxygen supply to that. Here they are saying about coronary. Coronary, it is an artery or the blood vessels which are mainly supplying to our heart. So if it undergoes ischemia, what happens to the ECG pattern? Let us see. So the current of injury in this abnormal condition, heart is always completely depolarized or not at all. So this may cause an abnormal currents. So always remember, in this case what happens is, if there is any abnormality in the heart, sometimes whole heart get completely depolarized and it stays like that in depolarization state. Otherwise sometimes it will not at all undergo depolarization and stay like that. So because of this condition, there will be some difference in electrical currents formed, so that is leading to formation of abnormal currents. So the injured part is always having the negative current. This is very important to remember. So if uninjured part is depolarized, then the ventricle have the negative complete muscle potential here is 0, and this is called as J point. So this J point is where the complete potential is 0, and also it is showing mainly the negative potential. So always remember, the negative potential is seen in an injured part or abnormal conditions in our heart. So insufficient blood flow to the muscle depress the metabolism, mainly because of lack of oxygen, and also here carbon dioxide accumulates now, and also there is lack of nutrients from the food. So completely heart won't die because already some blood will be present to it, so it can supply it, it can compensate it, but continue with the present oxygen. But normal repolarization can't occur in this ischemic areas. So always remember, in ischemic areas depolarization may occur, but repolarization never occurs. And next we are going to see our extreme ischemia occurs. So what happens if extreme ischemia occurs after coronary occlusion? So you can understand, if completely, if coronary artery only which produce nutrients and oxygen, if it only undergoes occlusion or blocked, then you can understand the situation is extreme ischemia, and the strong current of injury flows from infarcted area during TP interval between the heartbeats. You can understand now this is an abnormal condition, so for sure we'll see the negative potential here. So the most important diagnosis of ECG recorded after acute coronary thrombosis is the current of injury is negative. And now let us see the acute anterior wall infarction and also posterior wall infarction. So in acute anterior wall infarction, 3 bipolar limb leads and 1 V2 chest lead is used here, and diagnostic feature is intense injury potential in the chest lead V2. Means intense injury potential means that is the injury potential is nothing but our negative potential. So the negative potential is seen in our lead V2. So in zero potential horizontal line, that is our J point, the strong negative injury potential is seen mainly during the TP interval. This condition is called as anterior wall infarction. And the negative potential in the lead 1 and the positive potential in the lead 3, the resultant is positive 150 degrees in the case of our anterior wall infarction. And here the negative end is towards the left ventricle and the positive end is positioning towards the right ventricle. So as the ECG current mainly coming from left ventricle and also to the anterior wall of the heart. So the anterior wall infarction is mainly caused by thrombosis of anterior descending branch of left coronary artery. So anterior infarction caused by anterior branch of left coronary artery. And now let us see the posterior wall infarction. So here the zero potential J line, it is also negative here. It is readily apparent that during TP intervals, and the potential of current is positive. The potential of current is positive. The positive end of the vector is in the direction of anterior chest wall, and the negative end of injured end is all away from the chest wall. And in other words, the current of injury is coming from the back. You can understand here the negative is away from the chest wall because it is towards the posterior side. The infarction is now towards the posterior side, so the negative impulse is also will be in the posterior side. So the current of injury is coming from the back of the heart, that is opposite to the anterior chest wall. So now you can understand the negative current is coming from back means it is nothing but our posterior wall infarction. So here the lead 2 and lead 3 have negative injury current, that is minus 95 degrees, and the negative end point is downward and also positive end point is upward, and the injury is in the apex of the posterior wall of the heart. Because why we can say it is in the apex? Because lead 2 and lead 3 say it's in the apex, and which says that is in a posterior wall, that is minus 95 degrees indicates that the injury is in a posterior wall. So like this we can find out whether the infarction is in anterior wall or posterior wall. Now let us see old recovered myocardial infarction. So here lead 1 and lead 3 are used after anterior infarction, and lead 1 and lead 2 after posterior infarction. Here also lead 3 after posterior infarction about 1 year after acute heart attack. So Q wave is formed in the beginning of QRS in lead 1 in anterior infarction, and Q wave in the beginning of QRS is formed in the lead 3 in the posterior infarction. So lead 3 is mainly used to denote the posterior infarction, and lead 1 is mainly used to denote the anterior infarction. So this causes the bizarre QRS complex. Bizarre means disturbed QRS complex in our ECG. So especially it is prominent Q waves. Example, you can see there is decrease in voltage and also QRS is prolonged. So let us see what is the current of injury in angina pectoris. Angina pectoris is nothing but the pain in the heart in the pectoral region of upper chest, and also the pain radiates to the left neck down the left arm caused by the typical ischemia of the heart or low blood supply to the heart. So when quiet, that is when the person is rest, then there will be no pain, but when the person is working or exercise, the pain increases, and injury potential appear in the ECG during the attack of severe angina pectoris because the coronary insufficiency becomes more. So to prevent the adequate repolarization of some areas of heart during the diastole. So this is about all important points which we have found from our clinical applications of ECG. This is somewhat a big lesson. Once let us see some of the uh, diagrams over here. So you can see this is the left axis, deviation in hypertensive heart, that is hypertrophy in the left ventricle. Note the prolonged QRS complex as well. So you can see in the LEDs, in the lead 1, how is the situation in lead 2. You can see here the lead 1 is towards negative side, and lead 2 is towards positive side, and lead 3 is towards negative side. So as in negative side, you can see here negative potentials. So that's about it. And here we can see the high voltage electrocardiogram in congenital pulmonary valve stenosis, mainly in the right ventricular hypertrophy. So you can see in the right ventricular hypertrophy, the third lead is showing towards positive, so some positive waves are occurred, and lead 1 is showing towards negative, so you can see all the negative potential occurred, and in lead 2 also it is showing negative waves, so negative potential. And you can see the current of injury in acute anterior wall infarction. So in anterior wall infarction, if, as we said, we use 3 bipolar limblets and 1 chest lead. In a chest lead, you can see major negative waves which is denoting are J line, 0 line, and also negative potential of injury. So this is that one. And here also you can see injury potential in acute posterior wall apical infarction. So here also you can see in lead 2 it is showing to us negative, lead 3 negative. So you can see all the abnormal waves going on in bipolar, and also V2 is also showing a negative injury line. And here also electro of anterior and posterior wall infarction occurred about 1 year previously. So this is to find out the old myocardial infarction, showing a Q wave in the lead 1 in the anterior wall and Q wave in lead 3 in the posterior wall. So you can see in the posterior wall how the Q wave is, and in the anterior wall how the Q wave is. So in anterior wall, first the positive has come and next the negative has come, but in the posterior you can see first the negative has come and next the positive has come, so that is the difference. Whereas in lead 1 you can compare with the anterior and posterior. Anterior first the negative has come, next the positive, but in posterior lead 1 you can see it's positive first. So like this we can check out our ECG patterns according to our disease.